Just had a podcasting interview, that was a bit chilly outside. But now we're on to warmer surroundings. I just love how no one's bothered about the camera, it's so interesting. It's Londoners for you. Got a meeting with someone today that I've met a few times before. He's a successful businessman. His business is designs and builds commercial office spaces, offices and whatnot for small clients, big clients, and some very well-known big names. But hopefully if he wants to come on camera he can tell you more about it. If not, I'll tell you a bit more.
We're doing, have you heard of Hayes, the big recruitment firm? Okay. Well, we're doing their head office, and this is the mock-ups we had in here to choose the finishes and stuff like that for Hayes. So what we do here is that when people bring in finishes, we try and create daylight so you can see true colour. So it's a great place for designers, all us can sit around the table, look at finishes, and clients can make quicker decisions when they see it true.
Are you a big boxing fan?
Actually, I collect probably about maybe £250,000 of memorabilia. Sports from presidents, activists like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
What have you got from his?
Malcolm X, I have his signature, but all this stuff is here. This is from our old office. Some of it's here, and some of it's still got to come. So they've got to protect the wall, and then we'll put everything up. That's one of my pride and joys. Is 1966 World Cup team signed by everybody, including South Ramsey. And now, bearing in mind the goalkeeper died, Reece. I paid probably about 25 grand 7 years ago. So God knows what that's worth.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And in here, this is the wall. But the thing is that when you're in here, you're still seeing life, communication, life, and so forth. And we try and keep it light. So this would typically be a solid wall with that stuck in it. We've actually got this sitting on the pole, floating in front of the glass. We're hoping to show the client something he can't afford, to then show him that we can detail something which he can afford and still make it look good.
So you must get, obviously, the intention obviously is you've got a prospective client come in here and then it's like, whoa.
Exactly.
That's how you get it.
But that's how we win more.
That's how you create impact and that's how you get business, isn't it?
Exactly.
Makes so much sense.
So we come through here. So these are telephone booths. Have a seat, see what you think. And you put your head back.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The sounds of it, I can hear it.
Yeah.
Bouncing back.
So you'll talk quietly.
That's interesting. So then you can't really hear much else.
Exactly.
Most of your team today, they're up for jobs or something?
Yeah, no. Funny enough, they've all gone to bowling.
Oh right, okay.
It's team building.
Oh.
And then we have here is another, this is a video conferencing suite, which is used for the guys on site. So the idea is that they'll call through, the designer will come, and the camera, they can lay the plan and they can see the person say, look, this you've done a shit detail here, this is rubbish. And he can show us on his camera via Skype or something like that. Right. And we'll pick it up and then we can look at it and he can see both real time. Now it saves us a lot of time then to go across town to go see something for 10 minutes when we can use technology, and so this gets heavily used.
So that's going to be cool one day when that image comes up like all that.
Yeah.
And then the client can see the whole thing and then turn it around.
We had a job which nearly came to that, and that was about 16 years ago in Watford, and we met Paul Allen. Remember Paul Allen, the Microsoft #2? He owned Seattle Seahawks, but he had an illness which he couldn't go outside. So he built a room which mimics the stadium outside feel inside the room. And he was showing us that we went to Seattle and it was literally like a hologram. We sat there and the player was like in front of us.
How long ago was that?
Oh, 16 years ago. It was Star Wars, and the only person who perfected it was Paul Allen. So we went out over there with the client, and the client came that close to saying yes to doing it, and then they backed out of it because the overall cost was horrendous. It was like 30 million just to build one room. They would build the whole site for that.
Oh, right,
yeah. So this is, you've seen our home.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love it. The way it works on my side. On one of my schemes right now, which is going to happen on all of them, we've got to get the spec together.
Yeah.
So we've got to work with a designer, especially in the co-living. I need something more along the lines of this.
Yeah.
where there's a lot of thought to how you can engage and interact.
Well, when you come back in, I hope you'll come back next time you come down, we're actually going to have downstairs what we call a meeting space, which is an egg. It's shaped as an egg. When an embryo is growing in an egg, it's the most safest zone till it fully forms and then breaks out. It's a quiet space, but a safe place, and so again, it's promoting a new way of working. You know, difference is that, you know, to buy one of those, it's like 15 grand. You know, but then if I build a room, buy the furniture, do the air conditioning, you're not going to see much change out of that anyway. So, you know, it is what it is.
But suppose we never really got to speak at the
No. But when we was talking, it came to me about kind of understanding propositions, especially when you've got planning. Let me just quickly, because I'm mindful of your time. So, for instance, that's Unite's offices.
Builder?
No, Unite the Union.
Oh, the Union?
Yeah, we've done all the Unite Union's offices in the United Kingdom. We've probably done about £30 odd million worth of work for Unite, all up and down the country. But this one is Optivo. The thing is with the housing associations is that they are focal on, say, developing housing. But the 9 times out of 10, you guys are taking out commercial. And then when you've done your development, you've got an asset which you don't quite know how to get rid of. But businesses, small businesses, can't get the money to buy. So you guys have to rent. Because there used to be easy to be for SMEs to get money to buy assets.
Sure.
So this whole development was Barrett's. And Barrett's originally was selling everything. And they couldn't sell it. Only myself, who was the first, the guy opposite was the second, everything else became rental because they couldn't get rid of it. It sat there for years. With that in mind, when you get your planning, you've got to have social housing or some sort of provision.
Affordable housing, depends on the application.
And something where the council, even on top of that, say you have to give something back. I'm thinking that there is an opportunity with the commercial where we can help increase employment by taking developments like this, which, as you see coming here, is a bit of a trek from East Croydon to here, for argument's sake. But if you live in Croydon, it's not a big deal because everybody drives. But imagine if you lived here and you are part of a social housing scenario, so you don't have a car, but yet you've still got the entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to actually make a difference for yourself. This country, it used to be called a country of shopkeepers. You know, now it's not. We're a country of entrepreneurs. We all want to make a living for ourselves. Yeah, and if you look at LinkedIn as a good example, the bloody thing is scattered with people doing what I call the hustle. But imagine if you can create a space which you start up by creating a WeWork type scenario, but for local community people to use. Everybody's into incubator businesses, and WeWork's made it even cooler. So imagine if, for instance, we create an environment where the guy who may be a printer or a guy who might do a bit of marketing but works from home, who might live on the development, comes in here and uses these premises as his WeWork.
And live in the development.
Exactly.
Well, yes. Do you know it's funny because I wrote an article about. I haven't published it yet.
Yeah.
But I've written an article about how co-working and co-living is going to merge. But it's the same thing.
And funny enough, we used to have that. There was a government law which created a different category of ownership. We've moved on a pace now because as we go back to this scenario, we can't get the money. When you can't get the money, we're screwed. None of the banks have got money. So selling assets is going to be hard.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that, say the development fund's £1 million, but they want £150,000 to be given to schools or whatever they want you to do as a part of the agreement to get the planning. I'm saying to you, what about that £150,000 goes into create employment? Instead of, for instance, you get the person who lives in development, get on a bus and go to another part of the town, if at all, out into another borough to get employment, there's an opportunity for him to save money and actually promote himself in his own development. And in the end, after 6 months or a year, for argument's sake, you give them the asset or they buy the asset. So that you create an asset where you create a business and then you sell them the business. They now own an asset. So everybody's winning. You've moved on, and the people who thought they would struggle in life, suddenly you've given them something. That's got to be attractive to a council.
A lot of empty retail spaces now, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Like city centres and stuff.
Big time.
So if they were made into things like that, they've got potentially a prestigious address.
Difference is for you though, is that that type of thing you don't make money out of. It's hard for you to make money as a developer. You can only make money if you're knocking it down, building an asset, for which that's part of it, and not get lumbered out of it, because you've got a strategy, you've got an exit planned when you're doing some of that. That's when this idea will make some sense to how you can move it on. What sort of developments are you looking at, working at?
Just across the board, you can get my website up if you want.
Oh, the V goes into the O, that's cool.
So Volume Hanley is a student accommodation scheme. It's in 2 phases. Phase 1 is, as I say, 60 studios. That's in planning at the moment. So phase 1 is the darker coloured bit, and phase 2 is the other bit, the lighter shade. So there were 2 different owners. I'd done a deal with the owners individually, separately, and then I assembled it into one scheme. But because I'd already started with phase 1, I had to just continue with that application, and in phase 2 the application is going to follow. We've already started work on it, but hopefully we get a decision on that phase 1 next week, positive. It's been recommended for approval, so it's just down to the planning committee now to approve it. Volume 1's the co-living one. Gun Quarter, you've got Aston Uni over there, you've got BCU. It's a new wave of housing, so ordinarily, a lot of professionals now, when they move to a city or within a city, if they're not renting their own apartment, which can be expensive, they're living in a house share, aren't they, or an apartment share. This is taking that away from and giving them a better product.
Oh, I see. So you've basically identified a gap, haven't you?
I'm not the pioneer of this, but this is the first co-living scheme for Birmingham.
Yeah.
So we actually had an article in the Birmingham Mail a couple of weeks ago about this. So it's Birmingham, as far as we're aware, Birmingham's first co-living scheme. So it's going to house about 200 people.
So how's the council taking it?
It's early stages, so we're just in initial talks, but it's going okay so far. It's brand new, it's never been done, so it sets like a precedent, if you like. Cool, do you know what? It's been a pleasure. Next time you're free in Birmingham, give me a shout, but
I don't know when I will get
we'll keep in touch either way.
Yeah, please do.
Alright, brilliant, do you know what? We've got to shoot, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for inviting me along.
No problem, matey.
Cool, so that was Dan. He's obviously happy with being on camera. As you can see, he's like a very successful businessman, and his business has done crazy things. They've got some massive clients, and it's quite humbling actually. It's good to see what he's achieved, and his office is quite nice. Tell me what you think about his office, put in the comments. Now we're off to the meet-up, we're pushing it a bit, so we're going to speed up, get the tram back, then get the train, and then do this meet-up.